this is the physical Blade Arc Deathknight I'm playing right now. I will switch this one up into like a new set build, like a cold Deathknight. But let me just go over the build real quick for you guys. So this is the Corvin Celestial Halberd, which is like the core of the build, right? Enabling physical Blade Arc properly as a Deathknight, because it converts all the Aether damage that you get from Sacred Binding and all the Vitality damage that you get from Soul Harvest over to physical as long as you're playing Blade Arc. Then we have this helmet here for Warcry duration and Warcry damage, mostly just to have like 100% uptime on Warcry. Overseer's prefix obviously pretty much best in slot. Void Harbinger is not, but still okay. Using a Kaisan, Mage Out of the Grove here, this one gives me like CDR and the heal, which is not too bad either. Then for rings we're using Combustion Band and Black Matriarch for resistance reduction on both of them. You can also use like a Crowning Ring if you want to. Shoulders is Fleshed Warped Pauldrons, which have like Spectral Wrath, and I rolled like an affix that also gave like a fighting form. Generally though, I would say also for Blade Arc, Benjar Pauldrons are probably better, like a better base item. Has like base Fizras, attack speed, and also the 3 bonuses to Blade Arc as well as to Bone Harvest. Pants are just like Solar Sect, Leech, like Life Leech Pants. Formidable prefix gives you Fizras. Dread Armor of Azragor is a, well, pretty good like standalone chest for physical damage. You are converting the flat vitality to physical as well. This is by no means like best in slot or like necessary though. Like you can play whatever you want pretty much. This is not really needed. Belt is a craftable stoneplate waistguard. As you can see, obviously my affixes are pretty crazy. You'll probably get something worse on average, but this is also pretty manageable now, at least in the league, with like the ability to like reroll your affixes. Balthazar's Crest obviously gives you like +3 to Laceration, the second one to Blade Arc, and does give you like more damage to Blade Arc. And then boots are Bone Shattered Threads, but can be replaced with pretty much anything. They are probably best in slot here, but there are many other boots that are also really good. And of course, if you get like a triple rare Stoneplate Greaves, those are probably a lot better. Or if you're playing like a Season 5 mod, then I guess if you get like some specific blues with like an affix on top, which is pretty OP, then that might be better as well. Gloves are kind of another must-have though, the Grounds of Unchained Might, with weapon damage to Blade Arc, just giving you like more damage overall. Overall though, I would say this build is a very beginner-friendly build. You can play this one also like as a solo Sephound from scratch, beginner, fresh start, whatever you build, right? You literally only need this weapon, which is super easy to get. These shoulders and like these, this helmet and this shoulder, they literally like farm themselves as well. Kaisan a little bit harder to get, but also once you get Nemesis to the Eldritch Horrors, you can just target farm him. This is very easy to get. This is just a craft. You can instead farm Ugdenborg belts in the Ugdenborg from the crabs. You can get the +1 soldier belt there as well, also very easy to farm. This one, I mean, probably the easiest to farm item out of all of them. And then, I mean, this one is a random drop and very good. And rings are also random drops and very good, but you can of course play the build without these 3 items. And then boots and chests are legendary, also random drops, but they are not as important, like not really mandatory at all. Let's go for skill point allocation real quick. 1 point Fighting Spirit gives me 6 points here, 1 point Military's Will gives me 6 points here, 10 in military conditioning, 1 here for veterancy for physique requirement reduction, so that I can put more points to cunning. 8 points a decorated soldier, 4 points as because of battle. This is because I have the Overseer's prefix on my helmet. If I didn't have that, I just got the 3 points from Shattered Realm. I could like put this up to 7. It would pretty much do the same as the Overseer's prefix. 12 points in field command and 12 points in squad tactics for like OA, DA, attack speed, % all damage. Not really like needed to overcap these though. 1 point blitz and then a couple of points in blindside, has as many as you want, to like reduce enemy defensive ability. It is obviously for like mobility. Blade Arc, your main skill, you wanna ideally have this at 26 out of 16 and this ideally at 22 out of 12. I currently have like 25 out of 16 and 18 out of 12, which is also doing okay, totally fine. With better gear you can have even more points here. 18 out of 12 points in Warcry and 15 out of 12 points in Break Morale. I mean, no matter how many points you exactly would have here from gear, just make sure that you max it out as long as you're either using the screen helmet or a Warborn helmet, which gives you full uptime to Warcry. Just way too good to have the DR, the damage reduction, and the flat resistance reduction to physical. All around, I mean, you always want at least 12 points, and then make sure to always put pro like an even amount, I think it is. I think every 2 points you get like another 1% OA. And yeah, that's pretty good. It's like pretty good value. The 17th point here, you can put it, but it's not really like doing that much. Necromancer, what you want is Spectral Binding Max for like the flat Aether damage, which you convert to physical. It also gives you OA and health, and then of course Spectral Wrath maxed out for the physical resistance reduction. 1 point Bone Harvest, and then maxed out Soul Harvest. You convert all the flat vitality to physical as well. Really nice to boost your damage, and then you want pretty much always, I would say, 6 points of Mark of Torment for the 46% damage absorption. You can put more points here if you would like to, but you don't really have to. Keep in mind, Blade Arc is a meta skill, but it does not proc weapon pool skills like Necrotic Edge, Reaping Strike, Markovian's Advantage, and Zolan's Technique. Because if you read it, it just says requires a melee weapon, but it does not say when uses a default attack do XYZ, right? It is not a default attack like Cadence, so this one cannot proc any of these. Devotions. So that's my devotion page right now. Which is kind of like a compromise between tankiness and damage. You can go more offensive, to be honest, instead of Vire. But what I have right now, like the core devotions, are obviously Kraken. You want to rush this ASAP when leveling as well. You want to go something like, obviously like 2 points Jackal first, then you get like either Sailor's Guide for movement speed, then you would get for leveling Spider, and then Kraken. Then after Kraken you would get a point here in Crossroads and get Assassin's Blade and the Dryad, right? This one for resistance reduction, you put this on Blade Arc. This one for additional healing, you put this on like Dryad, for example. And then you would aim for Ulzad. Ulzad needs 8 purple and 6 blue. You will already have like 6 blues from like Kraken and Sailor's Guide. The 8 purple you probably won't have yet. So you should get Toad and Wraith. These are pretty much kind of like filler devotions, especially Wraith, like doesn't really do that much for the spell, it's just there for like affinity. Toad kind of the same, but it does have at least Leech on it, which is not bad either. Then you grab Ulzad, which is like a nice boost, and you grab the Warcry. Like you attach the Warcry to Ulzad, which will trigger Ulzad like 100% of the time, all the time, so very, very nice combination there. Then you would go for probably Bear next, and put us on Bone Harvest. But as long as you don't have Bone Harvest, this would be kind of useless, and Bone Harvest is probably like also the thing that you would pick up last when leveling as a skill, so you might want to skip this for now and rather go for like Vire, which means you would need to pick something like Eel first. Actually you need the 1 blue from Dire Bear to even get to 18 blue though, so you probably get Bear and Eel before Ulzad, before Vire there. Vire, kind of like a mix of damage and tankiness. Proc is not too bad, it's kind of nice for physical builds that don't have too many like active skills to proc something like Alderon or Azura with, so this is kind of nice. And if you don't have like full uptime on your Warcry because you're not playing the Green Helmet or Warborn Helmet for some reason, then this also can provide like some physical damage reduction in between, so I feel like with Vire it's not quite as mandatory to have full uptime Warcry, to be honest. Then at this point you would spec out of Spider, you would remove the Spider and like remove all your access points that you have here in the Crossroads and put the remaining points into Azura. We're not getting the proc though, because first of all it's not even that good, and second of all you don't have a skill anyway for this. But the nodes are still good, like attack speed and like physical damage and so on and so on, so we are still picking this. Okay. Yeah, this is basically the physical Blade Arc Deathknight I'm playing here as not really my first character, but you can definitely play this one as it is as your first character. Oh yeah, Relic is a Juggernaut. Tier 2, super easy to craft. If you don't have this one yet, you can just farm it, literally farm it in any difficulty, even in normal, from Hiram, I think he's called, like the generic vendor in Secret District. And for Glyph, I'm using Glyph of Disorder, like a teleport, because I engage with Blitz, and then I can use this for either like traversing ground when there's no enemy nearby to click, or to actually disengage out of combat as well. But you can use whatever you want instead. This is a very safe choice for like hardcore, but you can like go more aggressive. And then last but not least, attributes. Literally using 0 physique because you only need 890 physique to wear the heaviest armor if you have 6 points in veterancy, otherwise you will need more here. Cunning and spirit, I mean, if you have Dryad, you really only need like around 360 spirit. I already have more than that because of affixes, I think. And also because Necromancer bar gives you lots of spirit. So I kind of have like too much spirit here, you could argue. But then again, also my energy isn't the best. So having the spirit for energy regen is okay. However, you could also use Arcane Spark component in the metal to fix the energy issue. And of course all the other stats go into Cunning, because Cunning scales your physical damage, your offensive ability, and it's just the best stat in the game right now, I feel like. Defensive ability is obviously very low. Enemies will be able to crit you, but with like almost 20,000 HP, they can crit you and you're still gonna survive. It's fine. But of course, for certain hardcore gameplay, it would still be better to have this like higher up. I didn't really have the gear to do that though. But yeah, this is the build, and we're gonna change it up now to a different build. Okay, so for leveling, if you wanna play this character as either your first character ever, or like as a league starter, or as a character that, well, you can make because you don't have that much gear yet, then there are obviously a couple of items that you want to look out for and that you want to get as soon as possible. Before you can get any gear though, I would simply recommend you to level with Force Wave. I do have a rather old but still definitely up-to-date Force Wave build or like guide out there that you should definitely check out. Or for example, as you can see my latest speed leveling video here, obviously with like Loker set, which you might not have as a beginner. I was playing Force Wave like here at level 44 for example. With this setup you max out the Force Wave and the Rending Force and you get Tremor pretty much as soon as possible, and you kind of just like pump bar otherwise, one point everything, and then eventually like max out your Field Command, your SWAT Tactics and Autoron's Rage, probably in the order of maxing out SWAT Tactics first, then Autoron's Rage and then Field Command. And then once you have the 4 active devotion points at around level 60 or like 72 for example, when I was actually switching over to Blade Arc with this weapon, you will see that I basically am also using Bone Harvest now to, first of all, give myself more flat damage for like Code and Vitality damage, and also to proc one of the 4 devotion skills. So I basically took out the points from Force Wave here, and then I got Blade Arc, I got Warcry and Bone Harvest here at around level 70. You can though switch over from Force Wave to Blade Arc whenever you want, basically whenever you have this weapon, whenever you get this weapon. Usually I would say it's probably around like level 40-ish already. I would say the lowest level where it really like kind of is worth switching over from Force Wave to Blade Arc would be level 40 when you get this level 40 version of the weapon. And now I just want to like show you real quick where to find the items that you need for this build, like for example the Corvin Celestial Halberd. As you can see here, if you click on the item database up here in Grim Tools, this is a very helpful tool as well on this website. It can drop from these guys, right, the animated Keepers of the Damned. These are all the keepers that are basically inside or around to the Tomb of the Heretic. And then also the one boss that I found for this is the Keeper of the Seal, right? If you click on this, like you click on this, it will open up the monster database for that monster, for that boss. And it will also like show you here the spawn location, and you can click on show on the map. That will load up the like world map, the Grim Dawn world map as well here on this website, and here is the Keeper of the Seal. And this is in the Tomb of the Heretic, and you can click on like this basically, right? For example here, Lost Oasis. Then you will see, yeah, it is over here, Lost Oasis Rift, and you should be able to find the Lost Oasis Rift on the map. Maybe necessarily not the rift itself, because you have to kind of like go here first to even unlock it, like unlock seeing it on the map. But you should be able to see the Lost Oasis already like as a named area over here on the map if you just open the map in-game. Now you can go here pretty much after Act 1, right? You defeat Warden Krieg over here in the Warden's Lab, and then you go to the Forgotten Gods area, right? If you talk to the Emissary in Devil's Crossing, you can talk to the Emissary again here in the Conclave and do a couple of quests here. and then you make your way all the way up to the Corvin City Rift, and then you will need to unlock the Way to the Lost Oasis, which you do by finding like 3 seals of Morganath, one of which is in a slightly hidden area in the Howling Chasm between the Sunbane Oasis and the Vanguard for 3, and the other 2 being around the Corvin Sands Rift. There's like one area with like a Sarlacc pit style area from like Star Wars, right? Like the worm in the sands. It's a bit like hidden to the east of this rift, and the other one like a bit south of the rift, and then to the west also into like a hidden area that you won't be able to like really see on the map. It's like around some griffins, like some griffin statues. You can go here to the west, and then you will find sea number 1, 2, and 3 in the Howling Chasm, with which you can open up the way in the Valley of the Chosen towards the Lost Oasis. There's like a passage that you can open up with those 3 seals, and then you can get to the Lost Oasis, and then from there into the Tomb of the Heretic, and in there is the boss that you need to fight and defeat to get your Corvin Celestial Halberd, which has all of these modifiers for Blade Arc, which basically enables physical Blade Arc Deathknight in a extraordinarily like strong way. Now if you take a look at the remaining gear, you can get the Flesh Warped Pauldrons and the Flesh Warped Cask from basically Flesh Warped Trolls in Act 3 and 4. You're gonna like encounter them a lot, like once you get to Homestead and so on. In Act 3 and 4 you're gonna find tons of these trolls, so like whenever they drop like this Paralophic Shoulders or Helmet, just check them out, and if they have like good rolls, use them immediately. If not, maybe like try farming a bit more, but usually these should be like very good to use either way. The medal you get from Balthazar. Now Balthazar, again, you can just write here Balthazar, and then Balthazar medal dropped from Mikula's Balthazar. Spawn locations shown on the map, and you can see he's here in the Staunton Mine, which is in Arcobian Foothills over here. So it's like the one mine at the beginning of Act 2 kinda, where you have to go and get your first dynamite. And here is gonna be the mob called Balthazar, the boss Balthazar, and he can drop the medal, and he has, well, this medal with like more damage to Blade Arc as well. The Solar Pants that I'm using here are part of the Hidden Path. The Hidden Path is a overall like 4-part kind of like side story content that starts out in Devil's Crossing as well. Starts out over here, Devil's Crossing, to this like slightly hidden area. You have to go through this house, or like at the side of this house, over the bridge, like through the river here, blow up this detonation site with dynamite, and then go over here and defeat the Guardian of Dreeg. And then the second part would be in Act 2, around the Broken Hills Rift, and then you go like over here, blah blah blah, right? And then here it's gonna be like a stone that you can like basically enter through if you have the first seal of the Hidden Path. And then here is the Guardian of Solai, which, well, can drop also the Solai pants that I'm using on this very build. You can then proceed the Hidden Path to like part 3 and 4. Part 3 would be like around Astakarn Mountains in Act 4. So like up here, basically, Astakarn Road Rift, and you go here, here, and then here's another stone that you enter through, and then here you can get into the Hidden Path, part 3. And then part 4 of the Hidden Path would be at the East Marsh area, right? In the East Marsh area, east of the Burwich Village Rift. You go here through, like over the, you cross the bridge, basically, repair the bridge, cross the bridge, and then here's gonna be like another stone that you can like lower if you have the, well, 3 seals from the first 3 parts, and you can go here and finish the Hidden Path. But that's not really something you need to do for the items for the build necessarily. It's something you will need to do eventually to like get your remaining skill points. But yeah, here I just wanted to like show you the path, because the Solar Sect paths are being dropped from the second part boss from that Hidden Path questline. The belt I'm using is a craftable, so you can just like find the blueprint for this and then craft it. If you don't have exactly this blueprint yet, you can also just like use any other soldier belt, like for example the ones from the Ugdenborg that drop from the crabs. Like for example, you could farm Caraxes for the Ugdenborg girdle that gives you +1 soldier, or even before that you could try to get some faction gear from, for example, Devil's Crossing, the Devil's Court. Now the Ugdungborg girdle, as I said, drops from these like crabs, not the ghost crabs though, and the most reliable way to get it is by farming Carax's Fowl. Carax's Fowl is basically the first quest mob in Act 5 that you have to do to get his heart for the like people from the Coven. And yeah, he obviously spawns in the Den of Carax's, one spawn point here in Gloomwald. Right, the Gloomwald crossing rift, and then you go like here, 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 and here's the Den of Carax's. It's always gonna be exactly here. So this is how you can farm also that alternative belt. Then I was also using the Kaisan's Eldritch Eye here. For Amulet you can kind of like use whatever. Kaisan is the Eldritch Nemesis though, so I mean Grim Dawn has this like faction system and also hostile faction system. And the Eldritch faction is one of the factions, which most of the time you will encounter in Act 7 in the Forgotten Gods Act. And once you have reached Nemesis status, that's gonna be more something for like endgame. Or like not endgame, but like once you're like 100 in Ultimate probably, you can like just farm Eldritch monsters to like gain infamy. And then once that infamy hits Nemesis, you will be able to spawn Kaisan. And Kaisan will, if you're Nemesis, be a 100% spawn once per session. But he does have 29 spawn locations. So once you're Nemesis, restart your game once and then check out pretty much all of these spawn locations, and then when you kill him you will also get his amulet. The other purple items you can see here are, well, random drop items, so these might not be that easy for you to get or like rather RNG dependent. However, you can pretty much like use whatever you want instead of this. It's obviously going to be like slightly worse, but it's still going to be good enough. Check out faction gear if you're like a beginner. Faction gear is always great. Check out like a right faction here, and then you can, I don't know, like choose whatever you think is good for your build. Probably for like endgame level 90 and so on, you might want to check out like the gear from the expansions as well, like from Mammoth for example, right? This one might be decent, right? Has like physical damage, HP, Physrus, Vitrus, Sunrus. Really nice pair of chests here, like chest piece here. For the rings, you could always use Cronley rings, especially for leveling. These are insane. You get like +3 to Laceration, which is the secondary part from Blade Arc. Using 2 of these is gonna be pretty much what you wanna do for leveling once you have defeated Cronley at least once. And well, to defeat him more than once, you just reset the session. Like you go back to main menu and you re-enter the game, and you can farm 2 of those rings. Last but not least, one additional tip here, the Juggernaut relic is a tier 2 relic, meaning that you can also just very easily get it. Once you get to Mammoth, right, to Act 6, to Seacap District, and basically once you've done all of the Mammoth Act, there will be a shop called Hiram in here in Seacap District, and he can sell you basically every single tier 2 and tier 1 relic blueprint in the game that you cannot buy from other faction vendors. So once you get here and once you have Hiram spawning for you, you can basically buy all tier 1 and tier 2 relics in the game. You will have to obviously reset the vendor a bit to actually make him like spawn with the relics that you want, like the blueprints that you want to buy. For that you can again just like reset the game, for example. That's one of the easiest way to do it, or do like the vendor reset trick that I've probably explained in some other video at some point. And then you are guaranteed to get the Juggernaut and can craft it rather easily as well.